Hello and welcome to this episode of Break Panel Sports. I'm John, joined alongside Joel. We've had a lot of news. It's been some time, but we are finally back here on our little weekly show we got going on here. I don't know if you've heard of any of it, but if you've been watching it, listening to it, doing whatever, we're here. We've got a lot of big events announced. We have some unfortunate news out of the NBA, or maybe fortunate if you're a certain way of thinking. And then you have everything else we've been going on. The coaching carousel has finally stopped spinning. We've got a lot to talk about,
All the
Joel. But
breaking
first
news.
off, how we doing?
I'm all right. I'm gonna be honest. I'm all right. I mean, it's weird when you got like no week of football, and I know the Pro
Right.
Bowl technically happened, but like it's just weird. It really throws off your
Yeah.
day. It throws off your Sunday when there's no games going on.
Shout out to Baker winning offensive MVP. The
There you
NFC
go.
caught the dub. We got to see Baker to CD Lamb once again. It was a great week for the Baker Tribunal. Okay. But we also, just to kind of sidebar for a bit, as New Jerseyites, we have discovered that the World Cup 2026 final, not just any game in the World Cup, the
The
game,
final.
the final game of the World Cup will be taking place at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And they said the New York, New Jersey Stadium, East Rutherford isn't really that. I mean, it's close to New York, but it's not really
I'm
New
gonna be
York
honest.
adjacent.
Like when it was announced that it was gonna be like MetLife was gonna host the games, I'm over here thinking, oh, it's gonna be like the first round,
No,
maybe second round. We're getting the final.
the final. I thought the final was
Oh.
going to be in Dallas or Mercedes-Benz or something. I was thinking AT&T Stadium. That would just make sense.
I thought it was gonna be in Vegas. I thought it was
Vegas
gonna
would
be
be
like
cool too. But,
that's
but
what I
but
thought it was gonna
Vegas isn't a place you can send everybody to because you have to send people from every country in the world to wherever place you're picking. So I guess it would make sense. I mean, it's a shorter flight from Europe to New York than it is to Dallas. It's a shorter flight from most places to New York.
the Parkway is gonna be crazy. The
It's done.
Parkway and the Turnpike, it's gonna be nuts. Not
I can't believe that they have that these people have to understand the New Jersey Turnpike, that they have to learn what the hillside exit is. They
because
have to learn
there's
all of this stuff.
the amount of Europeans and people
Yeah.
international that are gonna be on the Turnpike that day. Oh my god! If you take the Turnpike or the Parkway to go to work on those days, good luck. You're not getting anywhere far.
Yeah,
Just call off
I
that day if
think
anything.
call off or say, "Hey, can we do remote that day because there are going to be so many people." I mean, when I say millions of people. And the thing is, they're sending all these people to the most population dense state in the world,
Yeah.
which is New Jersey. I guess in the
Mhm.
United States, I don't know about the rest of the world. I mean, it is the most dense population wise in New Jersey, in the United States. Well, this is the funny. This is gonna be the funniest thing of all time.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I the I mean, I don't. I'm not even gonna say anything. We can't give up our good bagel spots. We can't give up the good pizza spot. Okay, we have to gatekeep as much as we can from the Europeans. All right, we have to, but it's gonna stink.
Oh
It's
no,
going to
what?
stink.
It's
I'm
gonna
not
yeah, it's
wherever I'm working that day. I'm not coming.
I'm not going. I'm not
I'm not
yeah,
going.
I'm not leaving the house that day.
Not leaving
It's
the
not gonna be
house.
good.
I'm not going to the game because tickets are going to be like $20,000.
Hey, I'm gonna try. Listen,
Well,
look,
I'll look.
I will definitely be looking because like we actually had this conversation yesterday about like actually like purchasing a ticket. You
Yes.
know, would I love to? Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's the World Cup, and for some reason, I don't know who makes these decisions, but for some reason, last year, being in Qatar
Yeah.
and all these other countries that you think about, it could be anywhere in the world. They chose East Rutherford, New Jersey. I
What are
don't know
they
why they picked that.
doing?
I don't know
Right.
why
I
they
mean,
picked that.
this is the World Cup. This is the most world-class event in the world ever. Pretty much up there with the Olympics. And the Olympics are coming to town too at some point, by the way. That's
Yeah,
going to be even more ridiculous. Think about the same year. Or I don't know when the Olympics are. I forget. I think they're this year. Um,
I thought it was next. Oh wait,
or
is
well,
it?
no,
'Cause-
I think
no,
they
no, no, it's
are.
not. No.
There are Olympics, but the ones that come to the states are a ways away. But
Yeah,
that's going to happen too. So, but they have decided to select New Jersey as the prime host for all of your best sporting events. New Jersey, the Garden State, the most lovely state in the world. We love it more than anybody. Have you ever heard anybody say to anybody who's not from New Jersey listening to this show? Have you ever heard
No.
anybody say they like New Jersey? We're from New
When
Jersey. We don't like it, but we love it
yeah,
at the same time. But not because it's efficient, not because of the way we drive. No, they are though these French cab drivers who come over, they are cooked.
they're
It is
cooked.
done. They're
It,
just not gonna have a good time.
do you understand how many rental cars we're gonna see, and then it's just gonna be like a bunch of international people who don't speak English at
No,
all.
it's it. I mean they'll have to understand one language, and it's New Jersey's favorite bird.
They're not gonna know what a roundabout is. They're not gonna know
No,
anything.
they'll understand New Jersey's state bird, and I'm not talking about the finch. Okay, there is going to be a lot of certain fingers going up on these roadways on that day.
Oh my god,
It's
it's gonna be so
it's the New
bad.
Jersey salute, the New Jersey greeting, New Jersey hello. But however, the NBA may have just gave one of the New Jersey salutes to one of their best players. Because of the MVP race and everything that goes on with that. Joel, we're going to move on. Quick transition, Joel. Joel Embiid is going to undergo procedure to address his meniscus injury. He tore his meniscus,
Hmm.
and he will be out for an extended period of time, which in turn eliminates him from winning the MVP award. Right? He was kind of close to that 65 game threshold that you need to accomplish, you need to achieve in order to be eligible for the MVP award. First off, it's interesting because we've been talking about this all season long,
Yeah,
right? Because Joel Embiid, when we talk about load management, it is Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid. But Embiid had been hurt throughout the year. It kind of felt like he was being forced to play in some of these games, which in turn is kind of what the NBA wanted. They want to make sure that their stars feel a reason to play in these regular season games because they're playing for the award. They have to play these amount of games to get in. And for Embiid, he was playing through some injuries. He had to be tough. And now we're seeing a left meniscus injury that he could still come back this season, but it's pretty much done in terms of him being eligible for the MVP. So he could come back with a week or two left in the season, score 100 points a game, and not be eligible for the MVP, which is what we've kind of put in this situation here. Joel, what are your thoughts on this whole situation for the 29-year-old now not going to be winning an MVP this year?
look, maybe I mean this may sound heartless, I guess you could say. You asked for this. I'm sorry, but the player they asked for this. You signed off on this. This is what like the 65 game rule. You could have declined it.
Yeah.
100% you could have declined it. Like this is from the Players Association, the NBA Players Association. Like no one had to agree to this at all, but they agreed to it to want to play a 65 game minimum. And now, listen, I think when it comes to players like Tyrese Halliburton, who's having an amazing year, I don't know if it's happened yet already, but I think like if he misses like 3 more games, like he's ineligible to win like all these awards. Like he loses like a couple $1 million of incentives because of like just him not being able to play and he's
Yeah.
been injured. That I think okay, maybe that's a little pushing it. I feel like when guys are losing money for being injured, that's kind of crazy to me. I don't know, that's just me, but like you signed the contract, you know, like you signed the deal, you accepted you accepted the terms, and I saw Charles Barkley was saying, "Hell, I wanted to be 70 games. That's what I wanted it to be. We made it 65. Like we're actually doing you a favor here."
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, listen, you or I, we're not basketball. We're not professional basketball players. Okay. I don't think we could possibly understand like the wear and tear of what these guys go through on a daily basis. But I'm just saying, you signed a contract, you signed a deal, you thought it was okay, you thought you were able to do it. If you're now going to be complaining about it, that's on you. I'm sorry, but that's on you here. You did not have to accept this deal. No,
Now,
I didn't see anyone put a gun to your head and saying, "Oh, you must do this. You're a part of our organization." Hell, you could take off the entire season. I mean, we saw like Ben Simmons taking off so much. No, like yeah, sure, he lost some money out of it, and whatever. But like that was his choice. No one forced you to play. No one's ever forcing you to play. You could do whatever you want, and no one told you that you had to sign this deal. You thought you were able to do it. That's on you.
right. So we've established that. We've established that this was what the terms are the terms. I don't think anybody's trying to. I don't even think when the terms came out they were that ridiculous to people. But
I didn't think so either.
I think when it comes down to it, right, it's going to lead to situations like this because now the argument is, okay, would this have happened? This Joel Embiid injury, would that have
Yeah.
happened if the rule wasn't in place? If he was able to take off some more
Well,
games and give his body more rest?
I still don't think he would have won MVP or anything like that. He only played like what 40 something games.
He was at 36 at the time. Yeah, I think even if he ended up playing 60 games, 59 games, he wasn't going to win the award regardless. He
Yeah.
probably, I mean, I know before the year I said Shea was going to win MVP, and it doesn't look too bad right now. Well, it doesn't look too bad.
Well, the record's really good. So yeah.
It doesn't look too bad. I mean, if I called that, talk to me. Okay, give me a call. Shea
Give you a
Gilgeous-Alexander.
call.
I found a website where you can look at a bunch of odds. Jokic is currently the favorite for MVP by a pretty good margin. If he wins
I
another
think he's gonna
MVP,
end up winning it.
he probably will. I think the NBA will cry if he does, but um, I like. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna want Shea to win it just for my own bragging rights of being able to say who won MVP. Yeah, Doncic is on there. Giannis is obviously always going to be a contender. It's interesting
I-
because
Is
you got
Brunson on there?
Brunson is about plus 5,000 in most places. For some reason, Bet365 actually is really. I know this isn't a gambling talk. Bet365 makes no sense because they have Jokic at plus 200 and everybody else has Jokic at minus odds. No advice
Huh.
for me. No advice for me. I'm just giving you information, but do with that what you will. Do with
Do with
that
that
what
what
you
you
will.
will.
Right. So I do find this interesting though because again, I think the 65 game to me it's more of like a it almost feel I don't know I'm trying to find the word for it. It just feels like semantics, right? Because I mean, have there been players that have won the award that play 60 games, that play
I
61 games? I feel like they valued the guy who played 78 games and had
yeah.
similar statistics and won his team more basketball games, which makes him in turn more valuable, right? I think the only issue I see with it is forcing players to play when they're hurt. I know we all want to do the tough guy stuff, and we all talk about hockey players, right? We say hockey players will get smacked in the mouth, and they will still go out there and play, right? But
Right.
for this kind of injury, it's this kind of injury. It's meniscus. It's a lot of stretching that muscle over and over again in ways that help not help, but in ways that make it suffer. And having a guy play another 38 minutes on an NBA basketball floor, if he's got a sore muscle, if he's got sore anything, if he's got something that may have a risk of being torn, I don't think the guy should be forced to play because I would rather miss watching Joel Embiid for 5 extra games, 10 extra games, and then watch him play in the playoffs than for him to kind of just drag himself out there for an extra 5 games in the regular season just so we can have a ha ha funny MVP award at the end of it. Because
But who's forcing him to play though?
it feels like him and the team and everybody. If the rule being in place, he can't really miss the games because if he misses a certain amount of games, he's not eligible for the award. He wants to win the award.
At that point, I just accept it. I mean, you're
Right, but
you're
you're not
not
you
gonna.
don't accept not you can't players aren't going to just sit down and accept it. Aren't just
But
going to
look
sit
what
down and
happened to
accept
Joel
all that.
Embiid after he not accepted. Now he's probably gonna be out for close to the year.
Right, he's pretty much out
Probably.
for a very extended period of time. Again, the door isn't closed on a return this season apparently, but it would be for a while.
See, here's the
Um,
thing. Like
yeah,
at least for me. I mean, I'm not saying I want to give up, but like, here's what I would do. Tobias Harris is gonna be a free agent. I would just trade him. I would just trade him, roll it with Tyrese Halliburton. I almost said Halliburton,
yeah,
Tyrese Maxey, and just tank for a draft pick at this point because I don't feel like you're helping your team at all by like trying to salvage something with an injured Joel Embiid and with a team who already was not looking like they were looking okay, but even with Joel Embiid, like they were a lot of their games were really close to
yeah.
the point where I'm
They
just
sit at
like
they sit at
I don't
fifth.
feel like they're competing. I don't feel like they're competing for anything at this point.
Yeah, yeah. They sit at fifth in the Eastern Conference right now at 30 and 18, just ahead of Indiana, Orlando, Miami, and the
And they're just
rest are
heading
just
down.
they were, yeah. The Knicks are now at 4. And I was saying that given the Celtics' performance against Los Angeles a few nights ago, given Milwaukee and their struggles head coaching wise, Cleveland is not better than New York, in my opinion. I see the Knicks making some noise in the playoffs, and that's going to be
Hey,
interesting to me.
did I not say a couple weeks ago? I said this a couple weeks ago that we're talking about potential championship.
It's possible.
I,
It's very
I
possible.
said this. I'm pretty sure I said this before this whole that whole 9-game winning streak and all that stuff. I'm sure I said it before all that happened
Somewhere.
because I'm looking at this team and I don't see a weakness on the team. I really
Find the
don't.
clip.
Even when you're going after guys that were not starters at all, guys who are just trying to step up, these guys are playing out of their minds right now. And listen, I feel like the NBA, I feel like the team that ends up winning the championship is the team who ends up hot in the months of like April and May.
Yeah, yeah.
Like those are the teams that I look at that I'm like, okay, one of them. You look at the Miami Heat; they proved it. You could be the AFC to make it all the way to the finals. It's not impossible.
Yeah. I mean, well, the Knicks are going to have a pretty high seed as well. They'll have a lot of home floor. Um, we'll see where that goes. But the 65 game rule, I'm okay with it. I don't really care about it. Well, I do care about it. I don't. It doesn't bother me to the point where I think, oh, we need to look back at this. I just think players should be okay with kind of not. The players shouldn't force themselves to play because of the rule. That's the problem. I know we've had this issue with regular season games not mattering, regular season games kind of being just whatever, players wanting to do load management for reasons that not really valid. This one was valid. Joel Embiid was actually injured, and he was strutting himself out there. So we'll see. And that'll kind of wrap up our NBA talk, Joel. We always got plenty, but
Always.
it's an interesting situation. It's one that the NBA is going to review going forward, but I've got nothing for you besides that. It's just unfortunate, and players
It
weren't
is.
going to win MVP whether if they didn't play that amount of games. So it's just kind of semantics to me. Moving on to football, the old ball foot. We finally did it. We finally got through the head coaching carousel. It's
Yep.
complete. Everything is done. We've talked about Jim Harbaugh, or at least what I have, a little bit. So we'll get down to that. I kind of want to start with some of the more recent hirings that have happened, and the big one being Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn ends up going to Washington and the Commanders. That stuck out to me. Obviously, it was always rumored that Dan Quinn was going to go get a job. He was always going to be someone that was going to be a candidate for a job. And Washington went out and they're giving him another chance. Dan Quinn. This is one of those hires where you don't win the reaction contest to it because a lot of
Yeah.
people were upset by the hire. A lot of people were saying, "What is Washington doing?" And there are also talks. I forgot the other Ben Johnson was talking about how there were issues of the commitment to football from the ownership because obviously you have the Harris Blitzer group with the Devils, with the Philadelphia 76ers, and then they go out and they purchase the Commanders from Dan Snyder. And anything is better than Dan Snyder. So now their first head coaching hire here in their ownership run, Dan Quinn, former defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, who just gave up a lot of points to Green Bay in a playoff game. Going from division team to division team. I honestly, I will say, it's not a bad hire, but to me, it felt like their options were so limited. And I think this is more of a statement about Washington than it is about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is fine. It's not, you didn't hire the worst coach of all time.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with I don't have an issue with him at all with Dan Quinn. My problem with it was I don't see much of a change from him
None.
from Ron Rivera to Dan Quinn.
Right.
I don't see much of a difference there.
They need an
I think
identity
that's
change
what
and they
kind
didn't
of
change
got
their
me.
identity.
No, they did not at all. And the thing is, like when you show that initial, like, oh, we have the most interest in Ben Johnson. We want to get Ben Johnson. We want to get Ben Johnson in here, and then he referred to them as kind of like basketball guys,
Yeah.
and he didn't really take them seriously. And respectfully, who would? I mean, it's the Commanders, who really cares? But
Yeah.
the thing is, like, when you're your asking price is so high to the point that like teams are actually like, very turned off about that. I think Ben Johnson really just wanted to stay in Detroit.
He did.
I think that's really what he wanted to do. But looking at Dan Quinn now, it's like, okay, you had so much ambition on getting Ben Johnson, one of the best offensive coordinators, and you just completely abandon the offensive coordinator scheme, and then you just go straight after, a DC who used to be a head coach of a team that made the Super Bowl, 28-3, but still a team that made the Super Bowl. I think Dan Quinn's a good head coach in the wrong past. He's in the wrong time now.
Yeah.
I think the game has evolved so much to the point where guys are just, it's all offense. Everything's all offense. Offensive coordinators, they thrive as head coaches a lot of times. They really do. So I don't know. I'm looking at Dan Quinn. I think he's okay, but I just can't see this like ending so well for Washington. I can't see it going so well. And especially to the point where you got potentially a rookie quarterback, projected right now, Drake May,
Yep.
who might come in here, and you got a DC as the head coach. I mean, good luck. I'm not sure exactly what you're going to do. The hire that I liked the most out of all of these hires was Dave Canales.
I agree with you, man.
I love that hire for the Panthers. Right now, is it necessarily good for the team? I don't know. I think it's good for Bryce Young. I think it's very good for Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his history, the history that he had in Seattle with Geno Smith, the year where he was putting up Joe Burrow type of numbers, and then goes down to Tampa, totally revived Baker Mayfield's career. I mean, he really did. Let's just say it for what it is. The guy was amazing for Tampa Bay. Now he's becoming the head coach of Carolina. I see a surge with Bryce Young potentially like in the horizon. That's what I see. And with Dave Canales, I mean, I don't see how it could be any worse than it already has been for the Panthers.
Yeah, they hire a young guy who has shown a lot of teams that he can help out your quarterback. One of the biggest issues with Carolina last year was, hey, our quarterback's not playing very well. It's going to be interesting to see how he takes care of this as a head coach and differing from an offensive coordinator. Because obviously, as a head coach, you're not spending as much time with the quarterbacks as you would as an offensive coordinator. You have to focus on both sides of the ball. You have to do your thing. So they need a strong defensive coordinator down there. But I love it for Carolina. If they're now, the thing is, it's Carolina, right? I love this hire in so many other places, but I just cannot sit here and trust David Tepper to put this man in a position to succeed or to give him the leash that he needs. Because
He's
if,
another one that got to go.
yeah, he has
That's
to go.
crazy.
He has to sell the team. I just what he did last season and seasons prior, it's not a successful organization, and it doesn't seem like he's going to get rid of the team anytime soon, though. But it's not. There's no path that they're a successful organization. They never should have traded up for the number one pick, by the way. They never should have did that. But now they have Bryce Young, and you have to hire this quarterback who you just looked at and said, this guy can revive careers. Let's hire him to be our head coach. Let's get it done. He took that job quick because I'm sure that
Yeah.
that bag was there. And Carolina has so many other issues besides the development of Bryce Young. It's just, I just don't get it. What they're doing. I like this hire. I like it a lot. And he's 42 and he's young. And if you want a head coach to be here for 20 to 30 years, like Dave Tepper for some reason thinks that's how head coaches work in the NFL nowadays, sure, you hired a guy whose age number is good enough for that. But that franchise is doomed. I don't know if Canales can save it. Bryce Young might look a little better, but they got to fix that roster. Part of why I wouldn't even mind Washington not even taking a quarterback because Sam Howell's playing all right. You got to build that roster as well. But that's not really what we're here for. And Drake May's really good. So you have to kind of take him. Obviously, we love the Gerard Mayo hire. Bringing back Antonio Pierce is great. Jim Harbaugh is still Jim Harbaugh. But Joel, what other kind of coaching moves stuck out to you?
I feel like the biggest move of all is the guys who didn't get a job.
That's where I was going next. Yeah.
You look at Mike Vrabel. I mean, listen, I understand like Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick, even though they're very great coaches, what are they, like 73, 72? Come on. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I didn't think years old.
Mike Vrabel surprised me. I thought for sure that man was getting a coaching job somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe Seattle. I don't know where, but like I thought that's crazy to me that he didn't get hired. I think the one thing that probably turned a lot of teams off about him was that when he was in Tennessee, one of the things that he did, I don't know if that many people know about this. You look at the hires that this man had, a lot of these guys were just his friends.
Mhm.
It's really what he did. He hired a lot of his friends, and
Yeah.
he favored his relationship with the coaching staff rather than their actual um what's the word I'm trying to experience, I
Their
guess I'm trying to
pedigree
say.
and their talent and
Yeah.
everything, yeah. I don't
That's
personally
the
hate that. I'm not too against that as long as those coaches are quality, because
well, yeah, for
relationships can
sure.
really good chemistry amongst the coaching staff can make things even better, and it worked in Tennessee for an extended period of time. I think the big thing was, I mean, the big thing with Bill, obviously his age.
Yeah.
You're when you make a head coaching hire, you don't want to hire a head coach for 4 years. You want to hit a Bill Belichick, but not a 72-year-old one. You want to get that, you like what you want Dave Canales to be. You want a head coach for 20 or 30 years. That's what you want. You only get that once in a lifetime, if that. But that's what you look for. That's the vision you kind of go for every time. Unless if you're trying to win now and you hire an older head coach and you think, okay, we got a situation here, right? But a lot of teams that need head coaches, young football teams. There weren't really a lot of older, experienced football teams that wanted a head coaching change and want to win within the next 4 years.
We're in a new
Atlanta,
era.
that too. But Atlanta, young. Carolina, young. Washington, young, but awful. I mean, you could just go down the list. Seattle, young. Raiders, young. None of these teams were in positions to win now because you hired a better head coach. And that's what Bill Belichick is.
No.
That's what Bill Belichick is. I think if the
Yeah.
Cowboys job was open, he gets it. He gets it. But because also, when even Vrabel was like this, when you hire Bill Belichick, he's cleaning house. That's the
Yeah.
demand that he's going to want. The house is getting cleaned. All the guys that you sat there and brought up, management, everything. He wants full control of that. And head coaches like him have that power where he can just say no because he doesn't want to just go into a situation and play his role. He wants to be the real head coach, and know what he's getting into and have control over it.
And
Owners
not a lot
don't
of
want
teams are
that.
into that.
Owners don't because
Because
there's it's so much hassle and money, and it might not even
when
work.
you look at when you look at the younger head coaches that you just brought up, it's like, listen, you got more power over them
Yeah.
because they're rookie head coaches, man. They
Yeah.
don't have that much power like a Bill Belichick does.
They don't even know how to use that power. They
Yeah,
kind of
they don't
have
know
power.
how.
They don't know what to do. They don't know what they're looking for. So it makes sense to them, especially for owners. And a lot of these owners love the status quo, Joel. They love just keeping things level, keeping things the way they are, not taking a lot of risks, not making that splash
That's
hire.
that's why we love Dan Campbell.
Why we love Dan Campbell, because he came in, said, here's my vision, here's how we're going to do things, and did it. And it's successful, right? Am I going to sit here? And I think Antonio Pierce was the only hire for the Raiders, no matter what. Um, but you look at the Chargers, they hired Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh is going to bring Jim Harbaugh in his
Yep.
vision. And you know who needed that change? It was not working with the Chargers. We all know it
No.
wasn't working. So, okay, let's hire this guy who just won a national championship. He's going to change things. Our franchise isn't going to look the same, but it needed to not look the same. That's what Jim Harbaugh is going to bring. Are you going to sit here and tell me that Dan Quinn does enough to shake things up in Washington?
No.
He's been a
No,
coordinator.
it doesn't happen.
I like Raheem
I think
Morris. He can develop this team. It's just it's intriguing that you don't hire Bill Belichick. But I do like Raheem Morris a lot. I think he's gonna be pretty good. But it is surprising that I think really the bigger crime is not hiring Mike Vrabel than Bill Belichick to me. That's the bigger issue I had because Mike Vrabel is a great head coach in this league.
yeah, he
I don't
really
know
is.
how he wasn't the first guy plucked off the board, how he wasn't the guy that teams were fighting for. Nobody wanted Mike Vrabel. So I don't know what he's going to do. He completely changed the culture in Tennessee.
Take a year off. Do what Doug Peterson did. Take a
Yeah,
year off.
take the
Just
year off, and
chill.
when we saw how well that's working out in Jacksonville,
Yeah.
it's working out pretty well. I know they missed the
Listen,
playoffs, but they had injuries.
head coaching jobs open up every single year.
Yeah,
Every single year they open up, and who knows? Maybe Mike Vrabel, we'll be talking about him again next year. Which,
Oh, we will.
you know, like I said, you got a year off, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how his contract worked, but I'm sure he was right in the middle of his contract.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to be home. You'll be fine.
Might as well. I mean, yeah, a lot of these guys also need a break to kind of just recollect themselves, watch the game, develop football strategy. They'll do what they do. He'll be fine. I got faith. Joel, now that we've had a week to think, really quickly before we close out our show here, the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, the Niners. If you listened last week, I'm still sticking with my guns. But what are you rocking with?
I said initially that I'm like, listen, I don't see Patrick Mahomes going in there and losing. I don't see it happening. Now I'm looking at this and seeing how he played against Baltimore, that very conservative play style that they were playing with. I'm sorry, but I might be switching it up and taking the Niners here.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna end up taking the 49ers. The reason why I say that, all you need is one mistake from Kansas City. That's all you need. If they do one mistake, it's over. And San Francisco is just gonna ride it all the way out. Because this is a team where Brock Purdy does not have to be the best player on the field. He does not have to be the best player. If Brock Purdy is at least top 5 on this team, I don't see how they lose. I really don't. And everyone stands up and delivers. I think I'm gonna be taking San Francisco here.
Well, we'll see what Cam Newton says about that top 5 situation. He says Brock
I
Purdy's
don't
not
agree
even
with
top
him
10.
at all.
I don't
But
agree with
that's
him
just
either. I know I've been on the I like to make fun of the Brock Purdy stuff because it's funny. He's a top 10 player on his team. Let's just keep things real, okay? He's at least 9, right?
he was looking for attention. He was looking for
Yeah,
attention.
that's what Cam does. He has a podcast. Podcasters look for attention. I wonder.
No.
Oh, really? What? What? Especially washed up quarterbacks. We're just some dudes having fun. But hey, we do what we do. So here's my thing, Joel. I remember being a young lad back with you in old high
Uh-huh.
school. And
Yeah.
there was this guy that we would talk about, and he would go to the Super Bowl every year. And the discussion would be, yeah, that offense doesn't look too good this year. They look pretty conservative. They're kind of laid back, and it just doesn't look the same. I think they're playing against a really good defense, and I think this is the time where you take down the greatness. And then this guy who hailed from Michigan would go out after winning games 13-16 and winning by the skin of his teeth, and then would go to the Super Bowl. And we would all say, "Oh man, I want to watch this guy lose. I want to watch this guy lose." And they would throw for 400 yards in the Super Bowl, win MVP. And then we would be sitting here talking, "Oh man, isn't that guy the greatest quarterback of all time?" I don't have to say his name. You know who I'm talking about.
The
So
GOAT.
the GOAT. And I think this is where this is the moment where we find out if Patrick Mahomes is on the path to becoming the greatest quarterback to ever play this game. Some people think
Yeah.
he already is. Some people think he already is. I think he's got to go win 7. But I think this is the moment where Patrick Mahomes shows you that he is Brady-esque. That he is a quarterback that when you have a team that offensively isn't playing that great throughout the playoffs, they find a way to win games. They find a way to win these games, and they have a great defense this time around as well. But the greatest players ever, they can give you one game to that where they just elevate the entire team, and everybody plays their tails off, and they go out and win this game by and really win it handily, and just win it in a way that you're never going to forget. Patrick Mahomes will be 3-1 in Super Bowls after this. So I'm only losing to the greatest quarterback of all time, not to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is not his Eli Manning. I can't sit here and say that yet. Maybe he will be. But at the end of the day, I think when you just have such a great quarterback and there's too many questions surrounding Mr. Purdy and this offensive unit, I will say, I think if San Francisco wins this game, I think Nick Bosa wins the MVP because I think he's going to get a few sacks in this game because he has a really
I
good
was gonna
matchup.
say it's. See, I was kind of going your same direction. I was gonna say Fred Warner.
Yeah, I mean,
That's who I was
I think
thinking.
it's a defensive player.
Yeah, that's who I think it is too.
Yeah, I think it's a but I think just Nick Bosa has such a good matchup with Taylor. I think that's where I really need to watch what I need to watch. Okay, because that left side of the offensive line, that's where they could make things happen. This San Francisco defense, but Mahomes is an escape artist, and we'll see what he can do. But I'm going to rock with the Chiefs. I still have my 34-25 score for Kansas City. You have the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But, Joel, that'll do it for this episode of Break Panel Sports. Thank you all so much for watching, tuning in, listening, all that throughout your morning, night, evening, afternoon, in the car, wherever you got to be. Joel, anything else you got to add?
I hope I hit my parlays. I know we don't promote sports betting, but
Right.
I got like 5 parlays for the Super Bowl, man.
Oh, man, Joel.
Yes.
Call the number.
I'm
No,
ready.
I'm kidding. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Bet responsibly. Do everything responsibly as you always do. Everybody throughout these games. Have fun. Everybody just have fun.
Don't be me.
Don't be Joel. Don't be Joel. Okay. Joel was not a role model. Joel was not a role model, but still listen to the podcast.
No. Don't be me.
Okay. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Break Panel Sports. Thank you once again. We will see you another time. And of course, go Chiefs.
Goodbye.